Are we live like immediately? Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. We're live immediately. Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Livestreams where today we are reviewing songs that you would like me to review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves Mozilla. Sup Jacob, how you doing? Hopefully you're well. We have ourselves and Blue Dinner Box. Sup Blue Dinner Box, welcome to the live stream. Hopefully you're well as well. We are reviewing tracks today. If there are songs you'd like me to check out, I can do it. If there are not songs you'd like me to check out, I cannot do it. We will see how we go. What you up to? What's you up to today? What's happening? It is Saturday in New Zealand. I'm having some water because I'm cutting down on coffee. There you go. Got the weather there. Same dealio as before, by the way. It's just free music reviews. Just free one. You know, it's all chill. And yeah, nope, it's looking okay. It's looking okay. Ah. Oh, I get it. So it goes over a little bit. Ah, cool. Sure, Gail. If you put it in chat, I'll be able to review it for you. So just feel free to put it in the chat and it'll be reviewed. Should be all good. All right, we got a song. We're going to add it to here. For Blue Dinner Box 1370. We'll just get straight into it and see how we go. Got 1.5 hours. So we'll see how many tracks we can go through without it being a lesser experience. We'll go with YouTube. We'll go with Spotify today because that just seems a bit easier. Here we go. Oh, it's pretty, isn't it? So this is Blue Dinner Box's pick. It's Lofi, Alefe, titled, the song's titled Valentine.
I've rejected affection for years and years. Now I have it, and damn it, it's kind of weird. He tells me I'm pretty, don't know how to respond. I tell him that he's pretty too. Can I say that? Don't have a clue. With every passing moment, I surprise myself. I'm scared of flies, I'm scared of guys. Someone please help. 'Cause I think I've fallen in love this time. I blinked and suddenly I had a Valentine.
Beautiful.
What if he's the last one I kiss? What if he's the only one I'll ever miss? Maybe I should run, I'm only 21.
So young.
I don't even know who I want to become. I've lost all control of my heartbeat now. Got caught in a romance with him somehow. I still feel a shock through every bone when I hear an I love you, 'cause now I've got someone to lose. The first one to ever like me back. I'm seconds away from a heart attack. How the hell did I fall in love this time? And honestly, and suddenly I had a Valentine.
I like those side vocals there on the side. They're very pretty. They're very, very pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically add the tracks to the queue once I'm done going through this piece, just so I don't get distracted. So that was Leifei with Valentine. That was Blue Dinner Box's pick for today. So what do we think this track's about? I think, you know, patently it's about Leifei basically declining the love of others and trying to sort of remain in their shell until they came across someone who kind of broke that for them, and now they're concerned about they're going to lose that person, but at the same time, I still think they, you know, honestly, I can't believe I get to call you mine. I blinked and suddenly I had a Valentine. And part of what works so well is that Leifei is just a phenomenal vocalist, just very, very capable and competent on the microphone, very easy to listen to their music. And I adore it because what you've got is just someone who is, you know, like very comfortable in the hidden chest voice, extremely expressive. And it's not just their main vocals either, it's the side vocals and the additional layers and stuff like that. There's so many really cool things to talk about with her vocal styles. We've got this kind of old-timey kind of vintage feel to her vocal style. Kind of reminds me of lounge jazz. It's almost like a kind of a barbershop kind of sort of feel to it, you know. I think it's just got a great sense of romanticism to it. I think as well the instrumental parts. You got those really, really cool guitar arpeggios there, those kind of jazzy inflections stylized into there, which gives it a sort of really kind of cool, chill, sophisticated feel without overcomplicating things. And you got like a double bass and a sort of drum kit with brushes there as well, which is just really easy to listen to. Really, really easy to listen to it. I love it to pieces. It's got a great pulse on the quarters as well without being too intense. The music is very supportive and soothing of what's going on vocally.
When I hear an I love you, 'cause now I've got someone to lose.
I also think it's the keys and the kind of organic sort of interpretation of those. Like we're attentive to the need to play to a tempo, but the keys are very comfortable playing with sort of in-step melody rhythms as well as kind of being a bit more sort of like freeform to allow a bit of drama within it, kind of like the heart's fluttering. And I just think there's great coloration there that works well with the guitar arpeggios and harmonies. I think additionally, what we do well is just we've recorded it really neatly. The studio production is really on point, very comfortable with the presence of the vocals as well as the guitars, keys, bass, and drums. And you can hear things around the free stereo field as well as the free spectrum with no weird resonant frequencies. The vocals are not over-processed or over-produced. Leifei can just, very much, they can just sing. Very easy to listen to. And ultimately, it does sound like someone's going through love. It sounds very wistful and borderline melancholic, but there's a major key or pull to it that makes it sort of refreshing and very sort of like pleasant. So ultimately, thank you to Blue Dinner Box for that request there. That was Leifei with Valentine, track 1 for today. So Gail, if you're still watching this, we just want to make sure that we send the name of the song with your name. So if it's Gail Vogel, if you can tell me what the name of your song is, I can find it if it's on Spotify or YouTube. If it's unreleased, I'm not accepting WAV files or MP3s. It's not like the Ko-fi stuff because these are free reviews. So if your music is on the internet, I'll be able to review it. But if it isn't at the moment, if you can let me know when your song's available for me to check out on Spotify or YouTube, that'll be great. That way I'll be able to review it. Can't think of any songs, so just pick the one I'm listening to. Well, I think it's a great song. Really cool song. So I've got Jacob Wrestle God, so he'll be the next one. We've got Fantasy with Sacred Serenity from Death, so that'll be a good time as well. I like me some Death. Jaywalking with Mint Condition, Breaking My Heart. Got a few tracks today, eh? Got a few tracks to go through. That's kind of cool. I'm glad you like it, Gail. I'm glad you like it. I do too. Jacob Wrestlegod says, such a simple, sweet song. Not the first time she talked about Hazy Sheen for romance. Yeah, she's always kind of played hard to get. I think in Bewitched, she was kind of like attentive to the fact that she didn't necessarily... Because she had been kind of scorned by people she'd been with, as I understand it. She also didn't think I think she didn't feel like she expected or deserved to be loved because of how she was treated when she was younger, which is incredibly sad, of course. You know, it's an incredibly sad thing. So I'm glad that they could find love and, you know, eventually. Happy Man Jacob says, Loki, want to go with another Suijian song? Hell yeah, we'll do that as well. That's cool. So put that in there. Oh, hang on. I'm misclicking. So got that there. Awesome. And oh my god, I forgot Leifei had an album before Bewitched. Go check it out later. Absolutely. It's surprising. Sometimes the biggest albums that you hear from people, they catch you by surprise. With just like, you go, oh, they had one before this. It's nice to get the story before they had their maybe arguably more mature sort of perspective on it. But I get the feeling with Leifei that she's pretty consistent all around. You know, even if there was growth, she still had things relatively polished. Her work ethic is really good. So, and then we have Gail Vogel flying for 3. Fantastic. Awesome. How have I done this? Oh, I did these upside down. Hang on. I realized that I'm not used to doing them after each other. Here's how you go. So you go that. And then you go that one. And then you go Sepultura. So I think we tried reviewing some Sepultura last time, and I wasn't sure if I necessarily got it, but it was still cool to listen to it. Yeah, we have got a few tracks today, so that's kind of fun. And then we've got Gail Vogel flying free. Excellent. And then, boom. So that makes 6 in the queue, so that's cool. Made that nice and small, or whatever the size of that is. I lose track. Yeah, I'm very kind of pedantic about the size of the window there. There you go. So we've got Jacob Wrestlegod. Or did I have it right? No, I did have it right initially. Yeah, I did. Oh, I did have it right. Yeah, it's just that I'm not used to adding them around the burn. So yeah, just having a moment. No, it was good. I had it. Nearly there. And that was it. Okay. And then Happy Man Jacob. And then Gail Vogel is up top. So I know what I have to do now anyway. So we've got that there. Okay. We're good to go now. We're good to continue. We'll go here. And then a Jacob Wrestlegod. All right, let's do it. Okay, and I need to do this. Thanks to both. And for your requests. Okay. Let's do it. So there we go.
Sometimes jacks rule the realm. Can't you tell? Swimmers drown without a sound. A chalkboard scratching sound.
And so this one, by the way, is 311 with Sometimes Jacks Rule the Realm.
Who grazed the town, an emperor's clothes, never be exposed. I took it as a compliment, regardless what they meant. Could have been innocent, spin so spin, raining against undeserved, dangling precipitous, raining down idiots, always flapping in the
It's great to have things beeping backwards and forwards in the stereo field.
I took it as a compliment, no matter what they did. Could have been belligerent, could have been ampersand, could have been wanting, afraid to break our prophecy, ended up taunting me. I can't change that. I can't change. I can't change that. I can't change. I'm watching you, not sure what's true. Life can be so cruel. There's nothing you can do.
Nice call and response with the guitars there.
But it fades, only to return. I feel your eyes burn. I really am concerned. Sometimes jacks will rule the realm, sometimes jealousy will dwell. You can't begin to dispel when you cannot even tell.
This just sort of kind of seems like a vibe piece, to be honest.
What makes me act the way I do?
Kind of weirdly heavy despite it being plain.
What makes me act the way I do? And why am I asking you? What makes me act the way I do? And why am I asking you? Sometimes jacks will rule the realm, sometimes jealousy will dwell. You can't begin to dispel when you cannot even tell. Sometimes jacks will rule the realm, sometimes jealousy will dwell. You can't begin to dispel when you cannot even tell.
This kind of seems like something they're trying to work out over the course of 5 minutes. You know, like, it's very introspective. Like they're having a conversation with you as a listener, but at the same time you get the feeling that they're really trying to work it out themselves. Sometimes Jack rules the realm. From 311. This is Jacob Wrestlegod's choice or pick for today. Yeah, no, it's either in a kind of an inside thing. Like, isolated, the swimmer's drowned without a sound. The chalkboard scratching sound could craze the town. These are terrible things that could happen. An emperor's clothes never be exposed. I took it as a compliment regardless of what they meant. It could have been innocent Spencer spent railing against undeserved angry precipitants, raining down idiots always flapping in the wind. Could have been belligerent, could have been... Yeah, no. Is it being sort of incredulous of what can and can't be possible in the world? It kind of seems like they're just saying things. Like there's just something they're trying to work out as they go through the piece. I have zero idea what the song is about. Probably some message about interpersonal relationships and criticism and how pain always just fades with time and return when you least experiment. Yeah, is it melancholic? Is it effectively melancholic? It's just kind of returning to an equilibrium, not really sort of like knowing how to feel. Sometimes Jax will rule the realm. Sometimes jealousy will dwell. You can't begin to dispel what you can't even tell. Think of it as people remarks about their careers in music, whether it's compliments, criticism, never let it affect you. I mean, to be fair, this here, you can't begin to dispel when you can't even tell what makes me act the way I do and why am I asking you? Why, yeah, exactly. Why are you asking the other person? So maybe it's all these things that could and couldn't happen, and you're just basically looking at what the other person is saying to you and asking whether or not they affect your behavior or not. I'm not sure where what the jacks are, whether they're a reference to something else within the sort of 311, 311 universe, but either way, you can't begin to dispel when you cannot even tell. Exactly, you can't dispel when you're not even aware of it. So there's things you can't do and things you can't change because you're not aware of it. I'm going to need a bit more time with that one. Yeah, jackasses. I feel like jackasses would have been better. I feel like that's my first point of feedback, is that they should have just said jackasses. But I realize that jacks, just with the cadence of it, probably worked better with the rhythm of it. This is a piece which has lots of different chapters, and part of what I like about this is that there are various sort of instrumental makeups. I liked the guitar part near the end where it kind of had the chugged kind of clean chords. I just thought there was a sense of heaviness there that I think was very sort of like loyal to the not super heavy leanings of 311, if I'm not mistaken, but still provided a sense of it kind of sounded a bit ominous. It was nice and fun and worked well alongside a lot was what was going on with the bass guitar parts. But like there's also this wonderful kind of fragrant tone from the vocalist as well. They're very easy to listen to, and like they have various ways that they communicate throughout, but it's almost sort of conversational and beautiful at the same time. And there are some points where they sound like they're wondering things, and other points where they sound like they're just making a general sort of statement. So it seems like, again, they are working out things themselves as they go through it. You know, maybe just having to accept things and arguing occasionally to see if they can change anything in vain. But you go through it, and there's either like there are different tempos, I suppose, or different quote unquote feels going between like half time and double time and normal time as well. Rhythmically, it's kind of fascinating, and I like the fact that it's not over compressed and that it's produced quite well. Like the leveling itself is quite good. I mean, there's like a kind of a crispiness to that distortional guitar as well, but it's not too aggressive. It's almost like regardless of what we work through, whatever angle we approach it from, we're kind of getting back to the same meter. I think the tricky thing about a track like that is I try to understand the lyrics as I go through it, and then I kind of feel overwhelmed as a reviewer because you're trying to make sense of what the story is saying, and as you do that, it almost kind of like betrays the beauty, the kind of the good-natured sound of the music itself. But like then you also get those ba 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 kind of sounds. You know, like it's kind of the little beep boop sounds are kind of fun, as I mentioned during it, which I think kind of makes a bit more sort of like playful the way they go between the sides of the stereo field, but at the same time, the Phrygian leanings, the bit of darkness there, it almost sort of like infers that things are not what they seem. So when we say, to be fair, the song is kind of weird, like it's easy to listen to, but the combination of weirdness is weird. Yeah.
Not sure what's true.
It's almost like I think there's a lot more they wanted to say, but didn't want to sort of overwhelm it, such as the jackass bit, as we discussed. I'd need an extra time through it to really sort of get all the little nuances and intricacies. But I think it's testament to their ability to sort of have mains and sub-layers and all sorts of interesting instrumental components in there that you have the ability to have multiple listen throughs with it. And initially, as a reviewer, I wasn't a massive fan of the idea of having to listen through tracks multiple times to understand them. But I think with this one, you just need more time with it, especially with a 5-minute piece. You don't run out of things to be intrigued or interested in. It never becomes uninteresting. It is just kind of a whimsical adventure, I suppose. No complaints about it, though. I think it's a really cool concept, and 311, they played it well. It was very tight, technically. So thank you to Jacob for Sometimes Jacks Rule the World. It's a bit of a confusing one for me, but I nonetheless appreciate the musicality of it. We got Fantasy next. Sacred, Serenity, Death. And what does Fantasy have for us today? Now that I've gotten my bearings. Sacred Serenity from Death. Okay, let's do it. Time for Death. Immediately a different feel. I don't know why I'm expecting there to be more bass response. The guitar playing and drum playing's tight.
Wherever we go, whatever we do, your shadow is not far behind, but something I brought. Protecting and watching all. Observing spirits on the wall. What are they telling you?
It's nice to have that little break between the vocals, though. I mean, the kicks are so quick. See, that's a clever change of sort of like ambience to cleanse the palette.
Maybe we could take a step back and discover what leads us to attack. Time that is short, distance unknown. For them each day, life has just begun.
I like the syncopated kicks and groove, how it is with the bass guitar, should I say. Dun, dun.
What are they telling you?
And it just finishes there. There's just so much to appreciate within that. That was Sacred Serenity from Death. Thank you to Fantasy for that request. What do we think the track's about? Yeah, I'm trying to Occam's razor this, you know, but a lot of the music within the genre, the lyrics, I mean, they clearly aren't super straightforward. Like, you could, wherever we go, whatever we do, your shadow's not far behind our footsteps. You could say that someone's like hunting them, right? Observing spirits on the wall, what are they telling you? Following all instincts that are pure, oblivious to time that may be the cure, sacred as a gift. I just feel like what is it describing? Time that is short, distance unknown. For them, each day life has just begun. Because I don't know whether they're still talking about... I don't know if they're still talking about the person hunting them or not. I suppose when they're saying you and they. I suppose Sacred Serenity, it's maybe dealing with the fact that someone is hunting you, maybe death is hunting you. And so there is peace, you know, when you don't have to be hunted anymore, when you don't have to worry about the amount of time you have, like from destruction of time. They have a gift without knowing. Serenity is knowing it's safe from destruction of time. Yeah, sacred is the gift that they have without knowing. Serenity is knowing it's safe from destruction of time. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's talking about something that is immune from time. Either way, in terms of things that I thought were done well within this piece, I thought the vocal style was really effective, primarily because whether we had the kind of gritty, lower and distorted guitars, bass, and drums, a lot of that being sort of rhythmic and the lower sort of strings of the six strings, it's just incredibly heavy sounding with a variety of different alternate picked and sort of like downstroke kind of parts, with a variety of different sort of tom and double kick fills, like incredibly proficient on the drum kit. And what that kind of style allows for is it's kind of visceral sounding, and if you're not, especially if you're not that used to it, you take notice of it. But it also works as such a wonderful contrast to those upper register bits there, where we kind of get into those sub leads of the guitars in that later chorus section. And I enjoy the fact that we have that kind of anchor there. That's not even there all the time either, to be fair. The vocals aren't. Like, there are a lot of different sort of like rhythm onto groove sections with power chords and like, again, like mixture at halftime and doubles. I mean, like, there's such a crunchy tone to the guitars as well, which I think sort of works really well for the genre. I don't know if it necessarily sells the story itself, but it just works very well sort of stylized. And so you have those like lead sections as well there, which are again a great sort of like foil, a contrast to the main sort of like vocal starts, which are not particularly melodic anyways, through the kind of like fryish kind of feel to those. There were also some really, not just the on-beat stuff with the triplet 16ths and the quarters and the eighths and stuff like that. There were some different patterns where they were like off-beat kicks. They just had a fantastic kind of like swing or groove to those. And it was just nice to not be too literal with the on-beat of it. And I just think as well, like, if you had not had those lead guitars in the upper layer, it might not just have been as intriguing, because I feel like anyone, I don't want it to sound like I'm having a go at people who make kind of like hardcore, the kind, you know, the kind of metal that's mostly zeros and lowers kind of down two strings. I don't want to sort of like seem like I'm having a go at that, because I'm not. I think there's a time and place for that kind of music. I think it's great. It's more that I do appreciate just having changes in the way the guitar is played in order to sort of like further enhance the experience there, to create again a faux lead or a lack of a vocal melody there. Especially when we've got those bends and the hammer-ons and pull-offs and really sort of fun kind of finicky kind of shred stuff there. But also when there's like a pattern to it, or like a sequence and it's planned out and you're kind of going along with the ride, and then you kind of come back into again those heavy sounding guitar, bass and drums, and you kind of led back into it. It's just very satisfying when you take a break, again cleanse the palette, come back into something a bit more sort of familiar. And again, it's just ferocious. There's like a really kind of filthy bass tone to it, which I think from like a production perspective, having the guitar, bass, and drums handled like that with the double kicks is just was very well considered. So ultimately, yeah, no complaints about it. Sounds sort of appropriate for the genre. I think if you'd overproduced it and kind of made it a bit too sort of clean sounding, it'd be kind of detrimental to the experience. Having it a bit sort of like rough and ready is kind of what you want. And that's ultimately my thoughts on Death with their track Sacred Serenity. Thank you to Fantasy for that. I appreciate that. It was good to listen to some Death. We have got a track from Jaywalking though. What do we have from Jaywalking? Mint Condition, Breaking My Heart. Who is this? Oh. So just to confirm, because this is over the 5-minute mark, I'll listen up until the 5 minutes of it.
Pretty brown eyes, you know I see you. It's a disguise, the way you treat me. You keep holding on to your thoughts of rejection. If you're with me, you're secure. You keep telling me that your time is always taken. I keep seeing you out alone. Listen to love, the heart is pounding with desire, waiting to be unleashed.
So like I have a question, given the amount of people that we have in the photo here, are they all involved with the lyrics or with the singing of this Jaywalking? Do they take turns? I mean, like, they've got a great sort of vocal timbre, like very easy to listen to.
Breaking my heart, breaking my heart, yeah. Breaking my
Cool. Thank you.
breaking my heart, sugar, yeah.
Do you hear those like little cymbal hits there, those triplets? They were cool, man.
Don't tell your friends that I don't mean nothing to you. Please don't deny the truth. Tell me right now, I know your heart is in the right place. You know I won't let you down, yeah. You can't disguise all the pounding of your heart, yeah. I see your eyes, and you can't hide. Start to make sense and quit playing these love games. Tell me what you're gonna do, yeah. Quit breaking my heart.
I mean, the bass is phenomenal as well. I love the kind of blockiness of it.
Breaking my heart.
I assume this would be 80s, right? 1991, crazy.
Breaking my heart, yeah.
Oh. Phenomenal.
I just want to know one thing. Will you be with me? Here comes my darling, here comes romance, here comes my love. I'm talking about a we. I'm talking about a
Gotta be honest, that's probably my favorite track from today. I adore it. I don't even know why I'm nostalgic for it because I was like, I don't even know if I was born in I was born in 1991, but like it could have been earlier than April, I suppose. Yeah, January 1, 1991. What a phenomenal track. Thank you very much to Jaywalking1237 for that. Mint condition with Breaking My Heart. Now, don't get me wrong. I like my death. I like my metal. You know, I like a lot of genres. But I feel like after the Mint to Me album, there was just a lot to appreciate about this one. What do we think it's about? I mean, effectively, I think that it's about sort of like understanding the person you're with, not wanting them to sort of like break your heart, not wanting them to reject them. You keep holding on to your thoughts of rejection. If you're with me, you're secured. You know, wanting to basically form that connection there, and they're just having a trouble with that. You know, just the interpersonal kind of dealings, and yeah, I feel like this is like a relatable, accessible subject matter to people. That's cool. What else do we want to say about it? I mean, I think that the vocals are phenomenal. Whoever is doing the lead parts is just tremendously very adept in their vocal range. Wide variety, sort of like head choice, you know, chest voice, as well as falsetto, as well as the backing vocals are well, very sort of colorful within the stereo field. Very comfortable, like exploring a lot of what's going on and harmonizing with the instrumental layers in the background there. And they sold it really neatly. There's just so a variety of different ways that we express. We kind of talk, we sing, we do a whole lot of other things, you know, and we really do sell it. Like you can tell they're really sort of given it their all when they're putting themselves out there in that piece. It's wonderful. And there's like this sort of this great sort of like shimmer to the keys there, which is very sort of like classic R&B. It's very wholesome sounding. The bass, the wom wom, it's just a fun sound. It's very kind of sleek, and there's a bit of portamento to it, so it slides around a little bit without being too abrasive or kind of cutting off. And then you've got like again the bright shimmery keys, and there are extensions to those harmonies as well, which kind of adds a little bit of complexity to it without being too much. But the overall kind of higher end resonance infers sense of like quiet positivity about ability to get together and make something good happen. And I think it's also the use of chromatics to transition between certain parts harmonically that kind of makes it a bit smoother and easier to listen to. And you've even got like the hi-hat hits have little repeaters on it. You know, it's really cool. It's neat because it's basically saying, hey, I know full well that I could just have the blunt kind of raw hi-hat hits and stuff like that. But no, what I would rather have is have it kind of scatter around the stereo field a little bit and kind of be even more peppy. And how could I forget the saxophone solo? You know, I just go through these confirming parts because there's a lot to process, but the saxophone solo was incredibly sexy. It was very well played, very technically proficient, explored the relevant scales and keys very well. We had a variety of rhythms in there as well. We knew when to take it slow, we knew when to speed up a little bit. There's a lot of life, it was vivacious. And it was also just great to sort of be able to take a step away from the main sort of storytelling device and just have them pop off on the kit, you know. And then to have that section there where it kind of gets a little bit kind of bombastic and kind of irregular, but in a way that is unpredictable for me. I wasn't expecting it. I thought we were going to go back to the safe place of like the hook or something like that. But no, we continue to flesh it out across the 5 minutes 56. And just, yeah, we absolutely nail the vocal harmonies, and the studio production, again, is not overproduced. Everyone can sing and play their instruments well. There might be some sampled instruments. They are a very underrated 90s R&B group, for sure, absolutely. I think they're fantastic. I had a great time with them today, genuinely. You know, to be fair, that has 110 million plays on Spotify, so I don't think they're doing poorly, although it'd be great if they could sing the lyrics to the song. You know, I feel like they could probably do that with their royalties, but Yeah, again, the production, it's not overproduced. You can hear the different strings and keys and bass and drums and all that nice and clearly. And it's just, it's incredibly easy listening, but it's also got a kind of a freshness to it that I think like musicians like Bruno Mars and stuff have learned from. And they would have taken from earlier musicians in a similar genre as well. I just feel like it's just an evolution and growth of the genre. So, and of course we have, but I was unsure whether we had 2 or 1 bass. I think the secondary bass with the kind of slap and pop is just very funky and works well to accent certain parts and just keep it sounding, again, nice and fresh and a little bit more sort of organic. But ultimately, yeah, breaking my heart. Pretty Brown Eyes. Thank you to Jaywalking1237 for that awesome request, as well as to Fantasy Jacob, Wrestle God, as well as Blue Dinner Box. Thank you to everyone so far. We still have a few songs to go, though. We have NFS 685 with their track titled Inner Self from Sepultura. What do we have from Sepultura today? The heaviest weight in the universe or something last time, right? I mean, it's ferocious. Really interesting tone to the drums, production-wise. Very used to galloping here. Sorry, it was Gojira, wasn't it? I apologize. I think I was thinking that they came from a similar part of the world, if I was not mistaken, and had a kind of dyslexic moment where I assumed that meant they were the same band. But well played. The bass is quite present. mean, it's an absolutely insane guitar solo. I mean, it would have been tapped, wouldn't it? Tapped with hammers and bullets.
Walk these dirt streets, breathe hate in my blood. Finish corner of the world, I work for your rules.
Such a blunt, switchy tempo there.
No compartment in my inner self, only I find my inner self.
And that is 5 minutes. I assume it would have gone for another time of that riff, though, to be fair. But that was Inner Self from Sepultura, who I thought was Gojira because I'm a bit silly. That was NFS 685's pick. Walking these dirty streets of hate in my mind. So I think this one, I kind of get this one a little bit. It's basically saying this is the inner workings of someone who's more of a contrarian, like an anti-hero or something like that. They consider other people's ways to be filthy and undesirable, and they're going to be true to themselves almost literally no matter what. Life betrays, but I keep on going. There's no light, but there's hope of crushing oppression, I win. So it's basically almost arguably to the detriment of the person who's sort of telling a story, or to where the discontent they feel is directly put on others, and it's unfair, the discord, and they're going to continue working until they slam anyone who's sort of kind of holding them down. So I think that part of what sells this track so well is just the unrelenting kind of fury and aggression of what's going on with the various sort of like guitar and drum. Well, no, actually, no, that's not fair that it's unrelenting. There are various ways that the guitars and drums are played at different speeds and different rhythms. There was one part in particular where we had kind of like galloping and really frenetic alternative chugging and down picking, or like alternate picking, and it was ferocious. It was so good to listen to, primarily because it illustrated, I think, the kind of anger that the person sort of telling the story is feeling, though. I think the fact that they have different tempos and different speeds of kind of rhythm riff of the power chords or sort of like picked elements there is more to sort of infer maybe a different angle that they're approaching their inner truth from, but at the same time, the overall feel of the track remains quite similar, despite the fact that some points it's just literally kind of the tapped guitar solos and extremely different from like the harsh kind of chugged resonance of most of it. But ultimately, I just feel like even if there are a couple of palette cleanses, and I thought that it was a really beautiful tapped guitar solo as well, and incredibly technical, but nonetheless well played. Sup LCC85, should I say? Hopefully you're well. Welcome to the live stream. I think the vocal style also emphasizes the feelings that they're dealing with in a way that's quite healthy. I know that maybe sounds a bit weird, you know, why would it be healthy to be angry? But in a way, I think that honestly, we as human beings are complicated creatures with a variety of different emotions. And it's good to be able to let them out in ways that are healthy. And I think maybe this is Sepultura kind of like talking about a part of themselves, or maybe talking about someone they know and kind of discussing their journey with it. So ultimately, it's a piece where you listen to it, you can kind of appreciate the technicality, the performance going on, with the very sort of like alternate chugged guitar parts, with the drums, with how kind of ridiculously quick they are, but also the tightness of the groove there. When we slow down, we're never like losing pace. The drummer is in the metronome and everyone else is following along to it. And I also think I have to give a shout out as a final note to both the grainy kind of style of production, which is very sort of like authentic for the genre, in addition to the fact that they had an entire minute at the start of the track without any vocals at all, which insinuates a sense of self-confidence and their ability to keep the listener's attention for that long that I feel was personally quite well reserved. So thank you to NFS685 for that request of Sepultura's track, Inner Self. Very, very cool. Off of the Beneath the Remains album. We now have another song. Hopefully you're having a nice weekend so far. We're getting close to the hour point. We've got, I think, another 2 in the queue. So I'm going to update the queue here. And as I get more comfortable with doing these, I'll get better at managing that. But we've got a Happy Man Jacob. I'm wondering if we have a Shuijan song here. I could be wrong, though, but we will find out. It's okay. We can go on to the YouTubes. Is it a track or an album? I'm looking at this and I think that might be it. So I'm going to go with that. We can watch this one. I think this might be it. It looks like the characters that you put through. Hopefully it is. But thank you to Happy Man Jacob. And I'm going to also translate this so that I know what's going on here. Because otherwise, yeah, you probably won't be able to send a link. It's basically Solution or Resolve by Shuijan. I'm going to go with. I think I've got it here anyways. Is this the one? It's just that chat doesn't allow us to send links. I'm going to go with this one. Let me know if I'm wrong, okay? Gotcha. This looks to be the case. You can put a request through. I think we have probably space for one more if I'm not mistaken. But we've got Jijui at the moment. Oh, okay, this is the live version. Yeah. Oh, here we go. We'll go with the album version then. It's just it doesn't have... Ah, okay, I get you. I'm putting 2 and 2 together. It's saying that it can't do it. Yeah, this is problematic. So, because I don't want to listen through the whole album. Okay. So this is... Where is it? Here. Oh, here we go. Cool. Got it. Thank you. Yeah, so I found the track though. I think this is the one that you've got here, eh? Yeah? This that audio is bad. It's just that when I put it into YouTube, right? It goes to this. I'm putting it in at the end of the tag. Oh, into search bar. Okay. All right. And literally the link into the search bar. So I've done that. I've copied it as you mentioned. I would like not to have the keyboard. Yeah, it's not showing it, man. It's not showing it. I can't see it. I don't want to look at emotes. Yeah, it's not showing the link. I know it's probably frustrating for you, but like, I'm putting that in. I put the thing you put in into the search bar here, and it's coming up with this. It's not showing it. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I mean, we're probably gonna have to go back to the other one. Oh, okay. Tell you what, I'll do you a deal, okay? I will assume that the audio quality is not full quality because half of the stuff that I see on YouTube, you know, I've done a lot of like requests where audio's been re-uploaded. So it's totally normal for stuff to not sound or album quality. It's totally fine. I'll take that in consideration. Thank you for trying to find it though, I appreciate it. So this is Solution by Shuijian. I love that rolling bass line there. The rolling bass line's really cool. So what's the song about? As I'm unfamiliar with the language. Any help is appreciated, thank you. Aside from literally a solution. that was Solution from Shuijian. What do we think this track is about? I'm assuming it is talking kindly about a solution. I'm not sure what kind of solution though, whether it's like a political solution, because it sounds like one of those songs where they're being a bit clever about it. That there are so many unsolved problems, but there are also so many joys. You are here to see through my minds and have solutions with me. That's beautiful. Thank you very much, Happy Man Jacob. I appreciate that, as well as for showing me this track today. I do like Shuijian's music. I find that if we had not had the hand drums, you know, if we hadn't had that, I think it would have been a little bit too long for me. In the sense that because I'm not familiar with the language, I'm not sure of the story that's being told. I think if you understood the language, you might not have needed the hand drums to have been able to sort of more sort of like vibing along to it. Maybe you got hyped up by the story that was being told, and so you were kind of like enjoying it. I think that what you discussed there, Happy Man Jacob, kind of resonates in terms of the kind of the kind of chanting near the end. Like they're getting kind of excited about it, you know, the finding the solution with them. I think it's an inherently positive message. I think the fact that it's very sort of like playful in a sense, it's got a great sort of energy to it, and the energy is kind of consistent and all pervasive. It sort of continues to kind of tap away at you like a really kind of friendly puppy, and it's kind of trying to get you to more and more and to sort of see that there's like an alternative to the sadness or the sorrow that you feel. The kind of like the honky tonkish kind of the bomb 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 bomb, that kind of 12 barish kind of feel to it, without too much of a minor leaning to it, kind of infers that we're kind of meant to sort of be grooving along to it. It's very kind of rock and roll, and I think that the way that he kind of raps, sort of like sings, and a lot of parts there, is sort of charismatic and very easy to listen to, but it's also fun. It's nice to have a track that doesn't take itself so seriously while still ironically delivering an important message. I think having those chanting vocals near the end is like more of a color. Yeah, like it's so vibrant, and the use of the kind of complicated harmonies to in the chord progressions is really cool because it infers a kind of a quirkiness to it, a bit of dissonance, but not one that you should take too seriously. I do agree about the bass line. I think that the bass line is very cool. I think the way it kind of rolls around, the boom, 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 boom. You know, it's just got a great sort of flow to it. It's very quick as well, and it's played very well rhythmically, as in it's a tight performance. We're not left kind of listening to someone stumbling over their root notes or bass lines. We transition between notes of the modes as well as the kind of progressions really effectively. And it's also the speed of the drums kind of propelling everything forward at the same time. I'm in two minds about the hand drums, though, like the finger drums. I don't know if we have time, honestly, Tobias. I would love to. Although, with that said, the time limit for these reviews is like 5 minutes. So I'm not sure if I'd have time to do the whole of Metallica. Tobias, if I'm honest with you, bud, I'm probably going to review that one in the new year. So I'll do a dedicated video on that one. Because One by Metallica is one of my favorite songs. So yeah, if it doesn't get done in one of these live streams, it'll be done in a weekly video before February. And it might not be much help, but thank you nonetheless for coming along to the live stream. So I feel like, yeah, the drums, the guitar, the bass line's fantastic. And I do think that, again, despite the fact that I know that the audio quality wasn't, as we've mentioned, that we're not happy with audio quality with this upload, I nonetheless appreciate what's being done in terms of the audio, like the vocal recordings, the guitar, bass, drums, everything here is recorded quite well. And I think I was talking about the finger drums. They just seemed a bit busy sometimes, and I'm not always a fan of the tippy taps on the sides of the stereo field. It's just a bit too close to my eardrums. It makes me a bit uncomfortable, but I think that they were just leveled correctly, that like it didn't bother me too much. I think it's testament to their proficiency, their skills as studio engineers to be able to put that in there and it not be quote unquote too much. To know the kind of balancing and how the appropriate nature of it. So ultimately, just a really great song, fantastic energy to it. They clearly were playing together in the room as per other tracks in Shuijian. Thank you to Happy Man Jacob for putting it forward. It's awesome. Awesome song. So I think we have time for 2 more, and I'm being conservative when I say that we've got 2 more, and that'll be us, simply because I don't know how long these other tracks are. But we've got a track from Gail Vogel. I feel that this is an original of theirs, which is all good. I like listening to originals. Now, I'm going to assume this is probably on YouTube. Hey, it is awesome. So we're gonna listen to it on Vogel, and listen onto YouTube, and we'll go from there. Let's do it. Thank you to Gail for the request. I like the push of the guitars. I used to pinch harmonics there. So that was a genuinely fascinating one. That was Gail Vogel with their track Flying Free. Apparently, as Gail's put here, I co-wrote, produced, played music, and mixed/mastered it. The lead guitar was played by Sean O'Connor from Dublin, Ireland, and my co-writer, Carla Clifford, is the vocalist. Good to know. Thank you very much for filling me on on that. I appreciate it. So what is this track about? I think that this track is about someone who is basically trying to sort of stay the heck away from someone who typically ensnares others or manipulates or gets their claws into them. They want to just fly free and be their own sort of individual person and not be bogged down by the actions or behavior of others. And I think that that's a beautiful thing that people will resonate with, sincerely. It's I think there are parts instrumentally that kind of capture that essence really well. But I want to sort of like kind of discuss the kind of expression of Carla here. I feel like the way that we communicate is really effective. There is a palpable disdain for the person that we're describing here. We clearly do not want them to have anything to do with us, and I've got to admire that in the sense that we just want to be left alone. We don't want that. So it's more that it's not just that we're singing these lines and sort of like getting to the notes that we need, but we're also reaching them in a way which seems believable, almost like you're having that conversation directly with someone. I think also I liked components of the instrumental parts. I think the guitar solo was done quite well there with the tremolo picked parts, some of the bends and other sort of like accents we had in there. It was quite spicy and temperamental in a way where like it seemed kind of like bothered by the person trying to weigh us down, but otherwise it was flying through and very happy. I think that these strummed guitars had a sense of kind of organic kind of homeliness to it, which is really pleasant. The drums were incredibly aggressive, almost like they were trying to tell the person to back off, which was kind of cool. I do kind of dig that. I think if you're going to go for drums and you play it safe with the quarters and eighths and don't have any sort of like kind of bombastic elements to it, it's a little bit kind of like laissez-faire. So it's great to have that kind of angst and kind of push to it. And if I just quickly go through it, I think we also had some keys as well. Yeah, at the end, that at the start, should I say, that's a literal antithesis of the end. The start with the vocal, the kind of that synth sequencer on the side, it elicits a sense of drama and tension there that I think it almost makes it seem you're counting down to your freedom, and I kind of think that was a sensible decision there. You're really trying to create that atmosphere with the instruments that are present and put it forward in a way where it gets the person sort of locked in. So I think, honestly, really cool. I think that the mixing and mastering is pretty good for the most part. It's one of those mixes where you're kind of listening through it. I mean this in good faith. I'm looking through it and there's just you stop for a moment and you pause and you're paying attention to what's going on the right side, and then you're kind of wondering how is the drum kit panned and how are the guitars kind of like set on the sides and how are we kind of following along to things. And I like that. I like it because what we're trying to sort of like communicate is that we are trying to fit a lot of really important information instrumentally, and it's done in a way where it doesn't seem overwhelming. I'm happy with how things were done for the most part. There might have been some resonant frequencies in the lower mids there with some of the guitar parts, like the steel strings and stuff like that. But I think ultimately it could have also been kind of pushed a little bit, but there were some really cool creative decisions, such as with the synth sequences on the sides and stuff, that I feel like we did handle really neatly. I think the drums, they might have sounded a little bit too kind of sharp with the upper kind of like register there. It kind of sounded like we were using kind of rock or metal drums with it, where like, again, it's like 50-50. I like that we're doing that and trying to do something a bit different. I just feel like if we'd been more aggressive with the drums, it would have been a detriment. So I felt like, again, we found the balance there. And I like that it's just a nice organic performance all around. So ultimately, Flying Free, I think, is a good, solid effort. And thank you to Gail Vogel for sharing your music. I appreciate it. It seems like a team effort with Sean O'Connor and Carla Clifford as well. It's nice when we get lots of interesting people involved to do stuff with us. That's the beauty of collaboration in this day and age. I think we have time for one more track, though, today. I keep putting the ad in when I don't need to. Thanks for your request. So let's do it. One more song today from Gareth T. You're welcome, Gail. It's all good. Keep up the great tunes. What is Gareth T up to? I think this is it. Oh, we've watched it before. We can watch it again. That's 6, right? It is 6. Yeah, we've seen this one before. I'm keen to check it out again, though. Thank you to LCC85 for this. I didn't even say the name of it, though. What is the name of the song? I need to be fair to Gareth T here. Singing love songs with my back, apparently, is what this is called. If I'm not mistaken. Don't know if that's...
去唱情歌，然而我想揀今日來流露我凄楚聽完的人，請你扮傻，但唱不全像正，其實老人並不傻，都猜中我為你捱盡折磨。 眼淚若嫌多，用背脊唱情歌，難道從後腦可以望穿我心裏痛什麼？正面像全裸，這醜的步驟別來篤破，願這歌悲到一轉背人間都忘掉我。
I like how the keys come in there. Great leveling. So much paper though.
原來我不懂怎樣愛，但是作的戀歌也算精彩。忘形到真失戀後償還10倍悲哀，終於一個人站在舞台，願這歌流行着。 為下一人沒將來，歌這痛了，人們還在喝彩。眼淚若嫌多，用背脊唱情歌，難道從後腦可以望穿我心裏痛什麼？正面像全裸，這醜的步驟別來篤破。 願這歌悲到一轉背，人間都忘掉我。尚有沉重的幾句，非要唱不可。世事沒如果，別再期盼如果。明明放低的你，竟已唱新。
Great stop there. That was cool. I like that. I think it's great. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I'll go with you on that, LCC85. I also kind of wish it was longer. So this is a track from Gareth T titled Singing Love Songs on My Back, which is LCC85's request. What do we think this track is about? I get the impression... Actually, I'm not sure what it's about. LCC85, what do you think it's about? Because I'm not as familiar with the language. I could say that it's about someone... You know, when you mention his live performances, he always starts a song singing with his back towards the audience. Is it kind of inferring that, like, he's afraid to kind of give it as everything until he kind of eventually relents and, like, provides it? Kind of shooting his shot until he finds the target, potentially? I'm not sure. Like, maybe he's sick of trying to shoot things with his Cupid's arrows, so he's just kind of... He's done and he just doesn't know what else to do with it. Either way, one of the things that works really well, I think, in this track is how earnest Gareth T's vocal performance is. It's very much kind of like slow and careful and sensitive, and you get the feeling he's really working through some stuff. Now, he gets into his like more kind of like intense range later on. There's a bit of vocal fry in other parts, and he has this kind of voice where like it doesn't become massive, but and I think the music does a lot of the heavy lifting in certain respects for that regard. That isn't me saying or even insinuating that he's a poor vocalist, because he can clearly sing. He's very comfortable in his head and chest voice. He hits the notes clearly. Absolutely no issues there. It is just the literal physical instrument that he's been put with. He doesn't have a massive booming voice. But what he does there, he's still crying out. It's just really wonderful. It's just wonderful how he does kind of increase in intensity whilst making the most of his sort of like minimal range. But then also what he does is he allows the rest of the kind of symphonic elements to pick up as he kind of builds, so that it kind of, there's kind of like dynamic range there. According to ChatGPT, it's a song about someone performing a love song while hiding their heartbreak, knowing everyone can see their pain, and realizing they're still clinging to a lost love who has already moved on. Hi, P2Q. Welcome to the live stream. Hopefully you're well. This song is like he feels vulnerable when he sings love songs, so he turns his back to his audience when singing. Thank you very much for the clarification. I appreciate it. Honestly, I feel like that's a shared experience. I don't know about you guys, but I think most people feel pretty vulnerable when they're expressing love, let alone singing it on stage. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. People might say it's sad that he doesn't feel like he can communicate with people. But like at the same time, we're all just people living their own experience, right? The last line of the song is, although I've lost you, at least I've still got my fans' love. Absolutely. And I think that, honestly, that is all we've got. You know, you can go through the worst, absolute worst stuff, but if you keep to your fundamentals and do what you can within your control, at least you know, as like a musician or a performer or whoever, you've got people you can get along with, communicate with, and who will support you through it. Even if it's not the one you necessarily want, you know, like the one person you might want, it's still nonetheless like important to that they exist, you know, a support network exists. So I think Gareth T is much loved. So I think if we look through the track, I think it's a really kind of tender performance on the guitar as well. It matches him really neatly in terms of intensity there, and it plays some major and minor triads that don't overcomplicate the mood of the piece. I think, yeah, we build the guitar from that point. Then the piano comes in a bit later on, and things just kind of elevate from there. I like that it spreads around the stereo field as our kind of world opens up a little bit as we go outside again. And we reinforce those core arpeggios. And it's a bold move having an entire 2 minutes of a track without a huge kind of build or kind of movement to the bass or the drums or anything like that, primarily because it's just such an easy way to retain attention. But it's almost like Gareth knows that if he plays the first and second act in a way which isn't too intense, but keeps the story compelling and sings well, people will sit with him. And then that last final act will be all the more kind of potent because everything kind of climaxes at that stage. Oh, never mind. I apologize. Apparently they get into the bass and the drums a bit earlier than that. I apologize. I mean, it's relatively subdued, but I still maintain a fault with that one. And you got the strings as well, like articulating the upper ranges there, or the mid to uppers, and providing a sense of drama and sort of like romanticism that's kind of wistful considering the subject matter. But I do prefer the third act though. And what's really interesting here is that I think they could have easily put like distorted or overdriven guitars here, but a lot of the drama, a lot of the kind of theater is captured by those strings. The overwhelming emotion kind of flowing out of him. This is his moment to really sort of like belt it. And the strings, which have been relatively subdued before, they build up from this and they just kind of come out. And it's just such a wonderful thing. So I imagine seeing him live, especially if you know how much this means to him, would be a thoroughly enrapturing experience, because it's really saying, hey, I see you and you're allowing yourself to show yourself to us now. We really appreciate it, you know. How do you feel about his vocal performance? Starts with a half-depressed tone, then builds into intensity, almost like he's going through the stages of grief. I absolutely agree with that. I think that the best musicians are the ones who show the humanity. And I think in this situation, Gareth T is one of the ones who is doing that. It's not to say I think that human beings should be emotional in order to be effective, but I feel like it's just such a fundamental part of creating art is putting ourselves in it. And it can be equally like an intellect thing or a creative thing as well as an emotional endeavor. Like it can be all of those things. So I feel like, you know, we've got our fundamentals down in terms of performance and composition, songwriting and production, because the production is stellar. But we're really just allowing the main sort of determinant or modifier to be the way that we communicate with the audience, and we nail it. Honestly, we do. Again, like the way the strings like rise like that is just tremendous. And he goes into his upper range, and again, his voice isn't super loud or dominant within the mix, but it's enough to kind of sell it. You can hear that angst in his voice. I think part of the reason the guitars work well with steel strings here is primarily because it's a consistent thing as an undertow of it. You know, you have that big emission from him at the end, and when the strings kind of come up and everything sort of like goes into a fortissimo. But then at the end, the guitar continues, and he's still kind of working things through, and it sort of like lets you know, or at least insinuates that he's still healing, but he's on his way to healing. You know, and the song ends. So ultimately, just a really beautiful performance. Again, studio production is absolutely on point. No complaints about it whatsoever. Just a really, really solid effort. So thank you for the lore as well. I appreciate that, LCC85. Appreciate you filling me in on more about him. I think that's all our tracks for today, though. So to confirm, we've had songs from Blue Dinnerbox 1370, as well as Jacob Wrestle God, Fantasy, Jaywalking 1237, as NFS 685, Happy Man Jacob, Gail Vogel, as well as LCC85. And that is our queue done. Thank you to all of you who have come along to this live stream today. This second week in a row. I wanted to just do some more song requests because I'm also thinking of doing them on Twitch on a more regular basis. I've learned that you can combine Twitch and YouTube and kind of do them both at the same time, as long as you're not a Twitch partner, which I am not. But I want to just see how things go with that, and just see if there are people on Twitch who'd be interested in getting their songs reviewed. It's equal parts capacity for independent musicians to get their music feedback on their music, as well as for you guys with your favorite songs to put them forward. So I'm not going to promise to be there every week. There are some weeks coming up where I won't be here because I'm in Christmas. You're welcome, LCC85. You're welcome. I won't be here every week because of Christmas, but also because I'm moving my studio to a new location. So you'll see a set change. Ideally, it'll be a bigger room. And ideally, I'll have my green screen back because I will have space for my green screen. I'll have my lighting back. It's going to be awesome. I do miss my green screen. I also want to upgrade my camera next year because I really just want to get 4K, but like proper 4K. And so I want to get a decent sort of like mirrorless camera next year if I can afford it. And then also get into some sort of like, kind of like lots. I've got plans for 2026, but more importantly, thank you for coming along to this live stream, my review of your tracks that you like, and hopefully, as well as tracks you made, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show the musicians featured in this live stream some love via their various social medias and their YouTube and Spotify pages, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. I'll catch you in the next live stream. Feel free to go check out the Discord if you want to keep up to date with that. Again, just a friendly reminder that if you want custom monthly videos as well as an annual album review, you can go to the Patreon and join that for $12 a month. And then we're also on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, maybe subscribe to YouTube so you'll be updated with the live streams. And I'll catch you in the next session. Spiderhands out. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay cool, Shredders. 3, 2, 1.